Here to discuss this week's top stories is the Menzies Institute's Nick Cater. Nick, we'll get to that pro-yes cartoon in the Nine papers that has upset many people in the Jewish community. But let's start with a piece you wrote for The Australian highlighting the Labor Party's green contradictions, putting renewable energy projects ahead of habitat preservation for koalas. Tell me more about this.
Yeah, well, back in 2020, there was a proposal up to build a wind turbine development at a place called Lotus Creek on the Great Barrier Reef between Mackay and Rockhampton. And the then Environment Minister, Susan Ley, looked at this and she just knocked it back because there was about 341 hectares of koala habitat that was just going to be bulldozed. Obviously, you can't do that. But then we learned that the new Environment Minister, Tanya Plibersek, overturned that decision last December. The thing's about to go ahead. The bulldozers are about to move in. So, did something happen? Did all the koalas flee when Labor came to power? I mean, I know a lot of us felt like doing that, but, so Labor's hypocrisy on this is just beyond belief. And Tanya Plibersek never misses an opportunity, Rita, to have a photo opportunity cuddling a koala because she wants to save endangered species because of climate change. But then she's quite happy to allow the bulldozers to roll in and knock these poor little cuddly creatures' homes down in order to put up wind turbines. It makes no sense to me.
Now, I want to ask you about this decision that has worried a lot of people. Woodside Energy's Scarborough gas project. It's been determined that they did not adequately consult local Indigenous groups, and many people are concerned about this and connecting it to The Voice and whether that is successful. The Australian's Robert Gobleson writes that the Woodside case appears to have set a precedent that would help The Voice body to develop powers of consultation and consideration to clog Canberra decision-making. Nick, how do you see this? We don't have a voice and we're already having these sort of decisions. What would be the case if this is enshrined in the Constitution?
Exactly, Rita. It's enormous concern. So what's happened is the environmental activists have found a legal loophole. They've been able to persuade some judges in the federal court in Australia, in Canberra, that if there's one Indigenous person who claims they weren't consulted for these developments, which are many kilometres offshore, right? They weren't consulted about the heritage value of the seabed, then the whole thing gets canned. And that's what's happened to Woodside. It's happening to a development by Santos just off the coast of Darwin. And of course, you wish you had a government that would close this loophole. This government is all about closing loopholes, apparently, when it comes to employers apparently robbing employees of their wages. But they're not going to close this loophole. They've got no spirit in it. So this is the sort of thing that happens when you get an unbelievably woke Prime Minister and Environment Minister, and the woke environmentalists just go wild and just go around looking for Indigenous people who haven't been consulted. It's not hard to find one of those, is it? It's just ridiculous.
And this legal action is often taxpayer funded, so we are paying for the privilege of having these
the whole thing,
desperately
Rita,
needed.
The whole thing is funded by the Environmental Defenders Office in the Northern Territory. In fact, they go around looking for grievances. Environmental Defenders Office is paid by taxpayers. So you've got a taxpayer-funded organisation that's looking for problems, creating work for the federal court in Canberra, and costing development, gas companies and others billions of dollars in the long run.
And meanwhile, we are seeing our energy bills skyrocket despite sitting on abundant resources. It is just pure madness and self-harm. Now, I want to ask about a column you wrote for Sky News this week in which you say the retail skills of yes advocates who are trying to sell The Voice has been profoundly unimpressive. But I've got to ask, is it their sales skills that are lacking, or is the product that is flawed?
Well, they are selling a dodgy product, right? But look, I mean, you don't have to be a psychologist to know that you don't win an argument by going out and calling people insulting names. So that's exactly, of course, what Ray Martin did. The Prime Minister's done a bit of it. You know, they're all in there. So why on earth are they doing it? I mean, you learn that at school, right? You learn that by the time you get to second grade, you know from the experience in the playground that you'll be a little more clever than going around insulting people with names. But that's what they're doing. And look, I mean, they are so bad at selling this. I mean, if Ray Martin and the Prime Minister set up a supermarket chain, they would never have to worry about stocking the shelves because nothing would be walking out the door, right? Not even shoplifters would be taking their product. They are selling this so badly. It's almost as if they don't want to win it. And I've kind of explained that a bit in the column.
Well,